Tunis International Radio, English program.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Hayat Kibri in the studio today for English Hour, and Anis Bilaluna on the technical engineering side. For today, we will talk about an interesting issue, shale gas. For those of you who don't know the word, it's gaz de schiste in French. So for those of you who'd like to know more, we have with us a Canadian businessman and an investor, Mr. Darren AbdulRahim Stevenson. He has come to tell us more about two projects, at least, that he has the intention to implement here in Tunisia. And, of course, our first track is the following, and I will let you enjoy the music. We'll be back right after the first track. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's English Hour with Hayat Kibri in the studio today, and our guest is Mr. Darren AbdulRahim Stevenson. He is a businessman. Let me first of all introduce Mr. Stevenson. He has a strong track record as a successful energy and technology business development leader who has delivered significant gains in revenues, profits, and market share for companies such as the Royal Dutch Shale PLC Group of companies in The Hague, Netherlands. He has over 17 years in experience in technology, corporate fundraising and mergers and acquisitions. And his most recent company, Voyageur Oil and Gas Corporation, is now partnered in Tunisia, North Africa, with Burj Al Khadra Sud exploration permit. Mr. Stevenson, as well, is the founder and executive chairman of Tigris Corporation. He brings to the group the leadership, fundraising knowledge, and practical skills to achieve significant growth in the oil and gas exploration sector. And prior to founding Tigris Corporation in 2011, he served as a founding shareholder and CEO of Voyageur Oil and Gas Corporation, which has secured a strategic exploration permit in the southern tip of Tunis, within the prolific Gdems Basin. Mr. Stevenson as well spent 4 years in The Hague and Amsterdam with Royal Dutch Shell PLC's consultancy. And Mr. Stevenson studied chemical engineering at the University of British Columbia, where he created a technology spin-off company that is developing a fluidized bed membrane reactor system for hydrogen production. And he is also a commercial pilot and has flown commercially for companies that he has created, including SmartJet and Powell River Air Services in Canada. Well, Mr. Stevenson, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Did I say enough?
That's enough, yes. Thank you.
All right. So, first of all, today you have come here to talk about two projects. The first project is dealing with shale gas, and the second one is dealing with clean energy. So let's start with the first one. And you are a Canadian businessman, and you have come to Tunisia a few years ago. First of all, how long have you been in Tunisia, and what brought you to this land here?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to our conversation. I've been working in Tunisia for 6 years. I actually came in 2006 for the first time. Looking at a project which is what you just mentioned in the southern tip of Tunisia. There was a group of companies involved in the project that were unable to raise financing, and so they asked me to help them. And the moment I stepped foot on the Tunisian soil, I fell in love with the country. You know, when you go to a new country, you oftentimes have a feeling for this country. So maybe it's the ancient energy that's here throughout the millenniums. But nonetheless, I fell in love, and we created a company, Voyageur, which is now moving forward with an American oil company as a farm-in partner. It's been quite the story. I'll probably make more money from the screenplay or the movie than I will from any shares that I have left. But nonetheless, I've, as I said, fell in love with the country. And after being able to working with a great team from Canada and from Tunisia, we were able to realize the investment for this project in the southern tip of Tunisia, We now are moving into the phase where shale gas potential on the block. And I think one of the considerations that I had, and one of the topics that we have today, is the shale gas debate, which is a great debate.
Right.
I think it's fantastic that people are expressing their opinions and feelings about it, and I think it's important to be a part of that debate. So.
Okay, so that's the first project, is about shale gas. Correct. And it is a project that you have come up with, and it is entitled Tunisia First Strategy for Shale Gas.
Yes.
First of all, let's describe the project to the listeners, and maybe start with the definition of shale gas. First of all, what is shale gas?
Yeah, let's start with the definition of shale gas. So. Hydrocarbon is locked into rock, basically, and so rather than depending on fracturing systems that already exist, which is conventional gas, for example, we use a technology that creates the fractures. So, in other words, you create reservoir by using a technology process that's a very significant energy-intensive process that creates these fractures through what's called hydraulic fracking.
Right.
And in essence, a small underground explosion that creates the fractures. So you create the reservoir. There's very little reservoir. There's no reservoir risk. And then you use the conventional methodology that's used today is they use a chemical solution to wash or to clean up the reservoir that you've just created, and then you produce the hydrocarbon from that reservoir. So that's the definition in a nutshell, and it's been a technology that's taken off primarily in North America, and now other places in the world are looking to utilize this technology. And part of the discussion is about the environmental impact of that technology.
Right. Why are people so worried about shale gas, and how different is it from natural gas?
Yeah, as I mentioned, with natural gas, you're dealing with conventional reservoir, which is a reservoir that already exists, and you produce it in a conventional manner. So from an environmental perspective, using this very technology and energy-intensive process can lead to challenges. I think when the technology was first introduced, say 15 years ago, with any new technology, especially in hydrocarbon exploration and development, it's oftentimes you learn as you go. And this industry, which is the hydraulic fracking industry, has learned a lot in the last 10 years. A lot of the publicity that occurred, and especially in the debate here in Tunisia, there's the famous YouTube videos where people turn on their taps and light the water on fire. This has definitely been major advances since this occurrence. However, that does not mean that there aren't challenges. There are challenges. And the innovation and technology has been very significant in the last 5 years, 6 years, including new technology that's available. So
right. You mentioned a while ago the way to extract this gas, which is by using a technique which is called hydraulic fracturing or fracking. So in this technology, apparently, the exploiters, or when you drill that, you inject some water, that's sand, right, and also chemicals.
That's right. So you use chemicals to clean up the reservoir.
That's right. And the big debate and the big issue is about those chemicals which are really injected as part of the cleaning process of those reservoirs. Yes. And a lot of people, even in America, they say that they are, very harmful because none of the drilling companies would want to disclose, the secret of the chemicals that they use. So what can you say to that?
Yeah, it's a proprietary process or proprietary chemical solution that they use, famous companies like Schlumberger, Halliburton, and so on. So what I can say about the issue, of course, as I said, the advances, a lot of the water table considerations have to do with the fact that even though the actual target reservoir where the fracking is occurring and the chemical solutions being used is well below the water table, unfortunately, fracturing matrices or fracture matrix is not well understood at depth. So what happens is that you can have I call them super fractures or super highways. So highly flexed reservoirs tend to lead to a fracture matrix that may be not well understood, and therefore you can have an occurrence where even though you're well below the water table and you've drilled through and you've isolated the water, one of these fractures can communicate between your newly created reservoir and a water table. So I think that's part of the consideration with using this chemical solution, and that's why I believe strongly in looking at new technologies that don't use water or don't affect water.
Yeah, and this is the worry, is that the use of those chemicals can contaminate the water.
Yes.
So how different is this new technology that you talked about in your project, which is LPG gel fracturing technology? How different is it from hydraulic fracturing?
Yeah, I mean, it's in essence LPG technology. It's waterless. It stimulates a much higher reservoir production. There's many different advanced gelled LPG technology that replaces the conventional water-reliant fracturing method. So basically, the first consideration, of course, is the fact that there's no water, and that liquid petroleum gel, gas gel, is as natural to the well as soil is to the earth. So it's soluble in formation hydrocarbons, and it also is more efficient. So I think. From that perspective, it's completely safe, and there's very little issues around worker safety and things like that. With hydraulic fracking, they do have closed-loop systems and very, very good water treatment systems. And so from that perspective and handling, they've made big advances. But unfortunately, as I mentioned before, with this fracturing matrix issue and some other issues, maybe it's better to look at a completely new technology.
So if there is this safe side to it, why, for example, in the U.S., there are around 35,000 shale gas wells, and there are growing protests over fracturing or fracking, as you were saying, while energy companies deny that fracking is really to blame for contaminated water?
Yeah, having worked in large company before and dealing with, sort of in the oil industry, I would have to say one of the challenges is that, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. There's a bit of inertia related to economics. So that's part of my focus on a Tunisia First strategy. If we want to look at people, profit, planet, I think people and planet should be more important than profit. So if it costs the companies a little bit more money to bring in new technology, then that's the price they have to pay to access the resources.
Right. Now, for this, where are you going to start? Is there any legislation, any regulation, for example, before, and how do you intend to implement this project here
so
in
part
Tunisia?
of the project, just so we're clear what the project is that I would like to be part of changing the conversation about shale gas in Tunisia. I'm offering this service for free. I'm not asking for any benefit from it. In addition, any benefit in the future that I gain from this position, I pledge, and I do this on the radio, I pledge 50% of any profits I make to grant this money to Tunisia in terms of innovation, research, charity. The other 50% of profits that I make, I plan to invest in Tunisia. So first of all, there's going to be no conflict of interest. Second, in terms of the actual project, I want to focus on technology. I think that's the key. And I learned a lot in Russia when I worked there for 4 years with Shale. The Russia First strategy. Vladimir Putin, his doctoral PhD thesis was foreign company participation in the natural wealth of Russia. So
it's a model that you try to implement in Tunisia here?
Yeah, it's a model that worked in Russia and very successfully, and I think in Tunisia, shale gas has a great opportunity. It can bring a lot of jobs. It can bring great wealth to this country.
So how can we start? Where to start?
I started already, so I've started already in terms of
where are you now?
Having a few conversations. I've met some people in government. I'm finding it a bit of a challenge to get the government to respond, but that's not necessarily their fault. It's a matter of just being persistent. I've met with the Minister of International or Minister of Investment and International Cooperation. I've given him my project. I've yet to hear back from him, so hopefully, probably he's not listening, but hopefully I hear back from him soon. And I plan to meet also with the Prime Minister in the next few weeks, inshallah, to discuss this specific project. And what it really is I want to like to form a committee. It's called the Peoples of Tunisia Shale Gas Advisory Committee. We report to the Tunisian people. not to government.
How do you intend to do this?
Through the media. So
through the media.
Through the media. So what we plan to do is I've already identified a few individuals, Tunisians, and some technical experts, from international technical experts that I plan to invite. And we will make it a working group.
So you have different steps now to follow. The first one is really to form this group.
That's right. So I've done that. I've invited some people who have accepted, and drilling engineer from Tunisia, another one, development engineer who worked at Shale. Actually, he's got about 36 years experience, and he's a doctor. Plus a few key international experts, and we plan to convene in January. We plan to convene a meeting here in Tunisia, a working meeting. And then afterwards, we'll report out to the media through a press conference. And it's about stakeholders. So the stakeholders are the primary stakeholders, the primary people to deal with are the Tunisian people, and that's the best mechanism for that is through the media. The government's a bit distracted here, forming a constitution and worrying about politics on a daily basis. Of
course, there are other priorities.
Yes. And so, and I wanted to be clear, this shale gas is a huge, huge opportunity for Tunisia.
Huge potential.
Huge potential. And if it's done in the right way, which is the Tunisia First strategy. If it's done in the right way, it can bring an enormous amount of wealth to this country, and more importantly, unlike the Gulf region or Saudi Arabia or other places, it's not cheap oil. It's not, you're not worrying about how, the issue in Saudi Arabia is well control. It's how to prevent the oil from coming out of the ground. Here it's a little bit different. It's actually a lot different, and that is that to access this wealth, we have to it's technology intensive and job intensive, and that's perfect for Tunisia.
That's right. Yes. So, and how many jobs approximately is it going to generate if it really takes its shape?
I always love this question about jobs because everyone takes my number and then holds me to it. This industry, put it this way, this industry is a paradigm shift for Tunisia. It's something that Tunisians and even myself can't even comprehend. I mean, we're talking about the potential. Could bring tens of thousands of jobs, if not more, if it's done in the right way. And I think the Romans learned that 2,500 years ago when they came here to Carthage to feed their masses in Rome. They couldn't just come with money and give money and leave. They had to set down roots here. They had to build presence. I'd like the oil companies, international oil companies, to take the lessons from the Romans and do the same. And that is not just come here with money and I want job training. I want for every expat that comes to this country working for a company that there's one Tunisian that is sent elsewhere in the world, so that there's one-to-one training, a one-to-one job swap. I think on the low-skilled perspective, local content provision. In Russia, Putin made 70% of all contracts had to be local. I think it's a bit of a stretch at this moment given the expertise that's available in Tunisia, but I think we can work towards that goal. And if companies say, well, sorry, there's not enough skill, or sorry, there's not enough companies, the answer is, well, then work with Tunisians to make this. In other words, we have time. Let's not, there's no big rush. Let's do it step by step.
Step by step. Darren, what really motivated you in first place to invest in Tunisia? Was it really the climate at that time, because you were here 6 years ago, which means before the revolution?
Sure.
Was it the investment code at that time? I mean, what was really your motivation to invest in Tunisia?
It's a simple answer: the people.
The people
of Tunisia. Yeah, I mean, there was such a warm reception and warm feeling. Of course, I've learned, in terms of business, wherever I have been in the world, whether it's Russia or Canada, working, you have to be careful in terms of how you engage with people. But I think the motivation for me was really the country is beautiful. It's got an ancient energy that I refer to, going back 3,100 years or so. But it was really the people, the warmth of the people, and I've chosen Tunisia to live in and work. So.
But a lot of investors, are quite reluctant, when it comes to the situation in the country, instability, violence, and all that jazz, everything that you read and hear about in the media, and everywhere. And they say maybe the climate is not, propitious enough to really invest in Tunisia at this time. So what is your message?
Which country are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about Tunisia here.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with this at all. I think Tunisia is an extremely positive place. New Tunisia is a fantastic opportunity, as I've mentioned before in previous media. I don't speak, je ne parle pas français, and I'm learning Arabic, but I don't really speak the language, and I don't really listen to the media. So I think
That's good for you.
sometimes my comment on that is sometimes you just have to turn off the media and go with what you feel. And Tunisia is a fantastic opportunity. I refer to this, there was a skirmish on the Algerian border recently where unfortunately someone lost their life from government. Yeah. And the way it was presented was that this is part of the Islamist uprising in North Africa, and probably it was a simple case of drug running or a security breach. But the way it was presented causes that instability in people's minds. And I think Vancouver, where I come from in Canada, for many years was #1 place in the world to live, ranked by the United Nations body. I think it's #3 currently. And the same year that it was rated #1 a few years ago, there was, I think, probably something like 30 or 40 executions or assassinations by gangs, which related to this gang war that's occurring in Mexico. But yet, the way it's presented was done in the appropriate way, and I think so. I think the lesson for that, or the message I'd like to give to Tunisians, is don't believe everything that you hear. Every time I talk about investment with a Tunisian person, almost every time they say, "Oh, well, this is terrible. This is." They feel depressed, and I try to change their feeling, and I say to them that New Tunisia is a fantastic opportunity. Media everywhere in the world. Bad news sells. So, and I look at the media in Tunisia, it's like a new toy, for someone's given a new toy as a gift, especially a child. They tend to want to use it and play with it. So I look at the new media here in Tunisia as just that. It's new. And however, at the end of the day, government and media don't create jobs. Investors and business people create jobs. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm here today, is to try to help change that message. And I call it change the game, changer le match. For every negative story, there should be a positive story.
A positive one. You created a YouTube channel, which is Positive Tunisia. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, I've created a new YouTube channel called Positive New Tunisia, and also Facebook and Twitter, which in January we hope to get going. And that really is just to encourage people, some of the media coverage that I'm doing and others are doing that's positive, to post it, and so that we start to change the message. And Positive New Tunisia is exactly that. It's positive, and it's a fantastic opportunity for investors. I have investors that are my partners that from Qatar, from Europe, from France, from Canada and America. And
they are willing to come and invest?
Yes, especially after they see me in the media saying positive things.
Well, that's wonderful.
Sure.
Okay, well, so we will have another break with music, and then we will come back and talk a little bit more about the second project, which is a project, an interesting one, using tires, plastics, in order to create clean energy.
Excellent.
Stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome back. All for One, All for Love. Bryan Adams, wonderful track. And actually, it goes very well with Positive New Tunisia, Darren, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And Bryan Adams from Vancouver. So.
Of course, yes. Well, I did it on purpose.
There we go.
Okay, so now we come to the second project, which is the Clean Energy Project. So can you tell us a little bit more about it? What is it? What is this project?
That's thank you. And this is a passion of mine. In fact, why I went to study chemical engineering was, in fact, to help the environment. I at the time in Canada, when I was deciding what to do for a career, there was a lot of awareness, environmental protests about clear-cutting old-growth forests in near the Pacific Ocean in Canada. Yes. So I had this deep passion, deeply embedded life interest is the official term, and that is really to work in shifting from economics to economics. In other words, trying to develop processes for the environment that help the environment, and they help the environment, but they're profitable. And that's why I chose process engineering, chemical engineering to study. And throughout my career, although it's been primarily in the oil and gas business, I've had passion in clean energy and working in sustainable development. you mentioned as part of my experience creating a spin-off company at UBC with my professors, chemical engineering professors, that creates hydrogen for fuel cells. And even when I was working in Shale in The Hague, one of the projects I worked on was selling CO2 from the Pernis refinery, pure CO2, to glass houses or greenhouses. So I've had a passion throughout my career, and my dream was to take my knowledge and wealth, yet to be realized, of course, but take my knowledge and wealth and from the oil and gas industry and reinvest that into a profitable clean energy industry. And so that's where this opportunity has come up in Tigris Clean Energy, which I own together with my partner from Doha, from Qatar, a businessman. And he has the passion as well. He's a civil engineer and CEO of a large construction company. I think they have 4,000 employees. He also invested with me in Voyager. So he has a passion too. For 10 years, he's been looking at tires and plastics.
Right.
So
how do you intend to do this? I mean, tires and plastics.
Yes.
How are you going to use them, to use the process in order to create electricity?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. So basically going on this triple bottom line where you look at the profit, environment, and people as equally important. So I look at hydrocarbon waste, which is tires and plastics for me, as basically, if you want to make the analogy with conventional energy, it's our reserves. So our reserves are tires and plastics, which contain hydrocarbon, and we melt or break down these material into its basic constituents, which is carbon and gas. And the gas fraction, we create diesel, and that diesel then is used to power. Either can be used in fleet applications for vehicles, but it can also, more importantly, be used in diesel generation. So the key to this idea was that while it's a clean energy project, you could call it an energy project, actually. I mean, you can say our reserves are waste that is a liability. There's 10 billion tires worldwide, and more being created every year, and plastics as well. And then our refining technology, downstream technology, is Japanese technology that's been developed over the last 30 years, and they have over 12 reference plants running, companies like Mitsubishi and Mitsui, Toshiba. So this technology is well proven, and then our customers are
it
people that need power.
Does not create any pollution?
No, it's zero.
Not at all?
Zero pollution. No, it's a closed loop process, and it also creates carbon credits as well. So the products from each tire, you get about 30%, which is the carbon, which can be upgraded to carbon black, and carbon black is a very, very fine carbon that's used in paints, tire manufacturing, nanotechnology applications. And then about 45% of the tire goes into type 2 diesel grade synthetic oil, which you use for power generation primarily. And I think in Tunisia that's a fantastic opportunity. There was on another radio station here about a week ago, there was an interview with a director of a recycling company. And he mentioned that he had 15 million tires and he didn't have a solution. I've been working 8 months in Tunisia trying to find tires. So,
and how are you going to go about finding tires? In fact,
well,
are you going to hire people?
Yes. So that's part of.
So that's part of a job creation.
That's the job creation. So because we can actually pay someone to bring us our tires. So it's like if you look at it from a traditional oil and gas exploration point of view. Our exploration is paying people to bring us tires. That creates a job.
Small jobs, yes.
Yeah, I mean it's not a high skilled job, but my definition of a job is someone performs a service and gets paid for it.
That's right.
This could bring a nice solution to our current debate here in Tunisia about jobs, and it could create hundreds of jobs because low skilled people throughout all the regions of Tunisia can bring waste to us, and we pay them for that waste. So.
And where do you intend to set up these factories? For example?
So what we're doing, in terms of the project status, as I mentioned, for the last 8 months been doing a pre-feasibility study. The next step, so we've identified some areas in Tunisia. Arosa, near Siliana, I visited recently. Zarzis also, because of the strategic location of Zarzis.
Port. Yes.
With the port, and also Libya. And there's a lot of empty trucks coming from Libya that could be filled with tires that take vegetables and fruit back. So there's a great opportunity. In fact, the Minister of Investment and International Cooperation gave me that idea, so I give him credit for that. So the stage we're at, or where we're at right now, is I'm trying to get the next stage of investment from my partner. And in order for that to occur, he would like to have a 15-minute meeting with the Prime Minister, which I've been assured will happen. So in January, inshallah, maybe mid-January, my partner will come. Together once he feels comfortable, because unfortunately he's been reading the news and watching the news. So he thinks there's an uprising about to happen in Tunisia at any moment. So once he gets past that fear, which I'm helping to do, partly why I'm here today. Once he gets past that fear, then the next stage is to engage some people here in Tunisia to help work with me to locate these tires. As I mentioned, there was a radio interview just recently about someone who had 15 million tires and didn't know what to do with. For a $50 million plant, I need to break even, or to pay back my capital, I need to secure about 8 million tires. So there's 2 plants worth of tires
which
that need
already
to go,
are
which is
there.
already around. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity. It creates jobs instantly, and more importantly, it's profitable and very profitable. And one of these plants can generate significant profits.
And this is the model that you talked about public-private partnership.
That's right, and that's public-private partnership. It's not something that we're talking about. It's something we're doing. And I've already started, as I mentioned, in Al Rosa and also in Zarzis. So we're working together with the communities as partners, and we're looking forward to the third partner joining us, which is the government of Tunisia.
That's right.
Yes.
What does it need to get the government to join in this partnership?
Very simple, 15 minutes with the Prime Minister.
That's right. Very simple interview, very simple meeting
yes.
with the decision makers.
Yes, and it's not a political thing for me. It could whoever's in the chair, the Prime Minister's chair, is for me. It's the office of the Prime Minister that's important. And once that's happened, in this part of the world, in North Africa, or I should say in the MENA region, relationships are important. And I think someone who's already invested a significant amount of money and is about to do it again, I think it's appropriate that he, together with myself, and we are, even though we're equal partners, I think it's important for him to have that meeting, and hopefully the government feels the same.
Right.
Because, as I said, I would like the government to help me help them, so to speak.
Well, this investment here in clean energy, and we know that in Tunisia, clean energy is a fairly new sector.
Sure.
So what motivated you really to invest in a sector which is, fairly new in a country, in an industry sector, which is fairly new in the country? Yeah,
and I should say it's fairly new throughout the world. This pyrolysis, as I call it, or conversion.
But don't we need a certain kind of awareness, of education, of prior to starting to talk about clean energy, for example? So, do you have an action plan for that? Do you have how are you going to get by?
So, part of my action plan is to secure the first project. Once I've secured the first project, then we'll make a media awareness campaign through press conferences and radio interviews like we're having today. But more importantly, I think the best campaign that can happen for bringing this new technology or this new idea to Tunisia is to make it work, create jobs. In other words,
it will speak for itself.
Yeah, speak less and act more.
And act more.
Sure.
That's right.
So I think that's the key, is focus on this first project. And we have quite a range of enabling technology. So we can go from, say, a $10 million investment up to a $50 million investment. So perhaps our first stage investment will be smaller, depending. Once I've secured the tire supply, the rest is pretty easy. It's a banking exercise and project exercise. The technology, it's something I've been working on for 2 years now, and I'm very passionate about. So the Japanese technology transfer or knowledge transfer, the Japanese love Tunisia, mostly because of the tuna, I think. But
That's right,
nonetheless, there's a great affinity or a great love between the two countries. So it's a natural fit that Tunisia would be the first one to do this. And as I mentioned, I'm living and working here, so I really don't want to do this project anywhere else. But at the end of the day, there are other countries that I'm looking at working on this technology and this idea with. And if I can't get the right motivation or the right participation of the government of Tunisia, then I'll move on. to another area.
To another area.
Sure.
Well, you mentioned your partners. So tell us a little bit more about funding. I mean,
Sure.
for the shale gas project, is it your own funding?
That's right. So for the shale gas project, which is the People's of Tunisia Shale Gas Advisory Team, quite a mouthful. For that, it's really just I'm covering the expenses to be able to do that from my own pocket. That's and as I mentioned, any benefit that comes from that activity in the future,
You're going to reinvest it.
I'm going to
Tunisia.
give 50% for free. There's a grant 50% of my profits to Tunisia in terms of charity, research, innovation, things like this, and then the other 50% I'm pledged to invest in Tunisia. So we'll see, inshallah.
You have an
works.
idea to give it to the right causes, to the right places,
Yes,
to reinvest in the right places.
I've learned a lot working here 6 years, so I'm well familiar with how to bring this money and how to do it. So that's not an issue for me. But in terms of the clean energy, in terms of investment for the clean energy, I've secured all the investment for that. So there's no need to worry about bringing investment. All I need now is a prime minister to meet with my partner and I.
Right. Well, maybe your upcoming projects. These are two wonderful projects. Hopefully, you will get at least. Let's say the go ahead from the government, at least for a first meeting,
Sure.
for you to start implementing the two projects. Any other ideas?
Yeah, I mean, about 2 weeks ago, I was in Zarzis with the community of Zarzis. The Prime Minister had a visit to the community. It was a very successful visit, very positive. And in fact, it was a working meeting with the Prime Minister. So
you had time to meet him.
Yes, I've met him. Yes, yeah, he's. I met him over lunch.
And did you talk to him? I mean, directly about
Sure.
the project?
No, I didn't.
No.
I was focused on the project in Zarzis, but there was a commitment by the Prime Minister to meet me again, and I had a good participation. We had a good working meeting about the ideas that we had for Zarzis in terms of some offshore. Field development perspective, and also some logistics and building Zarzis as a logistics base because of its strategic location with Libya and the safety and concerns about
and
Libya.
the free trade zone, yes.
Free trade zone and free zone of Zarzis, working with that group. So no, it was a good meeting, and I think the image that's important is that it was a working meeting, and that's important. I think whoever's in the Prime Minister's chair. I'm going to partner with, and the political debate that is ongoing. And as I mentioned, I have the benefit of not speaking the language, so I don't listen to it all. But I'm happy to have willing participants in government and in opposition to help bring about change. In fact, one of my previous interviews, it was the day of a big clash in Tunisia between two parties, two political parties, and the next day both Facebook pages put my message on. So I think that's the first time they've agreed on something, which is really that we need to create an environment in people's minds that it's safe to invest here, and that the reason why people are protesting, the reason why there's conflict is because there's no investment. So in other words, what I said at the beginning was just the government doesn't create jobs. Yeah. Investors do. So let's change the debate and let's be positive.
And let's be
positive. New Tunisia.
Positive New Tunisia.
Sure.
Well, we are, we fully agree with you on this message here, positive New Tunisia. And let's have another short break with music, and then we will come back and wrap up. Stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome back. 52 minutes after 2 on our radio station, and we are nearing then the end of today's show with Mr. Darren AbdulRahim Stevenson, a Canadian businessman who has been living in Tunisia for the past 6 years, and today he has come to talk to us about two very interesting projects. Let's hope that the decision makers will hear about these projects and will at least give him some time for a meeting, for an interview, in order to make the projects better known and to start implementing them, because they are likely to generate thousands of jobs.
Sure.
And
Inshallah.
to generate plenty of profit for Tunisia. So how would you like to wrap up, Darren?
So part of the wrap up is really I'd like to speak to Tunisian people and to say to them that this New Tunisia, no one has experience in New Tunisia. People that worked in a dictatorship don't have it. The people that were exiled don't have it. So, and there's good people in all different political parties. And what's great is that the decision makers and the key people are like me. They're very positive about this country. And I think it takes, they can't do it all on their own. It takes people, and the Tunisian people, to be positive and to convey that positive message. You know, the big battle between good and evil is fought within yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think part of being human is that you need to win that battle. And once you win that battle and you're positive, it spreads very fast.
Where do you get all the positive energy from?
That's where you get it. You get it from winning that battle within. And I struggled and won that battle here. And that's why I'm here today, is I would like to spread that positive message. And it's very important to me. These two projects, and there will be more, inshallah. These two projects, one of them being the shale gas project, the gas to schist. What a fantastic opportunity for Tunisia. And then the second one being the clean energy, which is my passion, my deep passion, where we take a traditional energy model and we use hydrocarbon waste to fuel a process that creates diesel. I mean, it's fantastic. You look at 10% of the world's oil production is used for plastics manufacturing, and 80% of all plastics within 6 months are in a landfill. How crazy is that? Yeah. And that's a commodity we could use. So I think those two projects are my focus. Well, I don't think they are my focus. I don't listen to the media. I went to a charity function with.
But the media have to listen to you.
Yes, they do. Yes, they will. Well, they have no choice because I'm out there. Right. So, but I remember being at a charity event with General Powell, Colin Powell, the famous United States general. Yeah. And I'll never forget what he said to me. And he said, "Sometimes you just have to turn off CNN." Yeah. And you can say the same here. Sometimes you just have to turn off the media and go with your heart. And once you do that, I think the world will change. And I think Tunisia is part of that change. And New Tunisia, what a fantastic opportunity. The intellectual capital that's here, the country itself, in terms of a destination, I'd rather live here than Dubai or anywhere else. I have Vancouver, which is a very beautiful place, of course. So now I'm very lucky. I have Tunisia and Vancouver. So.
But do you think the message, for example, to other people like you, other businessmen, other investors, if you tell them just listen to your heart, do you think it's enough as a message?
It never, it depends on who you're talking to, and business, investment in the world. Not just in Tunisia, but investment in today's world is an extremely difficult thing to do. The world is in an exponential growth pattern for everything. And so investing is a challenge anywhere.
A big challenge, yes.
So I think from an investment point of view, as I've learned, investment is an emotional activity. Well, the people with the money, I'd say the people with the gold make the golden rules. The people with money make investments based on how they feel and on their emotions. I've seen a lot of people from the Gulf, from Europe, coming here, and I see businessmen meeting businessmen. That's more important to me than royals coming here on their private jets and having publicity photo shoots with politicians. That's important, don't get me wrong, it's very important, and Qatar is a fantastic investor in this country. But I think more importantly, and we should focus on business-to-business relationships, not business to politics. Right. Politics are politics. It's going to sort itself out. Tunisia, and I went through this in Russia. Russia took about 15 years. I think Tunisia is going to take a lot less. And I think what's happening now is very, very important that energy is released. If you have 23 years, you can't talk about anything. Let's talk and keep talking. But let's do it in a way where we can balance it with some positive messaging, which I'm part of doing.
Positive New Tunisia.
Positive New Tunisia.
What a new world bravery, I can call it. Brave a new world.
And the YouTube channel is, if you go to www.youtube/user/positive New Tunisia.
Positive New Tunisia.
You can look at some of the positive things that we're doing.
Well, thank you ever so much. It was very interesting talking to you, Darren. And let's hope that the two projects then will be implemented in the very near future, and we will follow them up.
Absolutely. And I'll come back after we've got some investment done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Cheers.
Stay with us. Coming up next, a news update in French, then the German language program, and Khalid today. I thank you, and join me tomorrow for another edition, another topic on the English Hour. Stay with us. Bye.